Life doesn't pause when you're sick. Vaccines against respiratory illnesses can help protect you and give you more playtime with your best friend. Depending on age and health status, vaccinations for flu, COVID-19, RSV, or pneumococcal infection may be recommended. Vaccines can help keep you from having a rough time. Learn more at cveep.org/vaccines-protect. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and CVEEP, fighting infectious respiratory disease.
Welcome back to the Center in the City podcast. I'm your host, Wade Brill, and I am so glad you are here. In today's solo episode, we're talking about food, how to be with food, with fuel, with nourishment this holiday season, specifically as we navigate the holiday season and then head into the new year, how we can enter this cycle of the season that we know so well, yet tend to get really stuck and sticky when it comes to fueling ourselves in a sustainable way. I've already talked to so many friends and so many clients, and there's like excitement about the holiday season coming, and then also this sense of, oh my God, how is my schedule already so full? And with that comes both excitement to be socially engaged, and also exhaustion. As we're navigating holiday parties, celebrations, gatherings, family meals, rituals, I want to welcome us to think about how we can use food as a mindfulness practice, how we can connect to fueling ourselves with intention so that we don't feel like shit this holiday season, and that we can enter the new year feeling really good inside of our body and not feeling this pressure like we have to go to this complete opposite of extremes. A conversation around food can get really tricky based on our relationship to it, with eating disorders, with emotional attachments, with scarcity. And food means a lot of things. It's not just the gas that we put in our tank. It is a form of love. It's a form of connection. It's a form of celebration. It's a form of memory. It's a form of pleasure. It's a way that awakes our senses. It's a form of entertainment. It's a way to be creative. It's a form of connection. So there's so many different components that get tied up into not just food, but the meals, the snacks, the shopping, the presentation of things, what we order at restaurants. Like, it all is so layered. So we're going to slow it down. We're going to break it down, and you're going to leave this episode with your own insights into your relationship to food during the holidays, and walk away with some mindful eating practices that you can incorporate into your life. And if you're curious to go even a step further, I'm hosting a free workshop this Friday, November 21st at noon Pacific. It's a Zoom interactive call where we're going to go into this topic in a little bit more detail and allow you to really walk away with insights and some tools in your pocket and a plan of how you want to mindfully eat and mindfully care for yourself this holiday season. A link to sign up to this free workshop will be in the show notes, so I look forward to having you there. Now let's settle in and let's get centered. So today we're talking about something that many of us wrestle with this time of year: eating and nourishing and fueling our bodies in a way that feels good, physically, mentally, emotionally, without any guilt, and allowing ourselves to be present instead of going on autopilot or feeling the holiday pressure or just getting swept up in the excitement of the season. I specifically think it's important every year. I feel like on the podcast, I feel this deep desire to have this conversation because the holidays, again, can be so triggering in many different ways. And the holidays can create an environment, a food environment where It's so visually stimulating. You're at a holiday party and it's got a big table full of all of these amazing chips and cheeses and these amazing, beautifully Pinterested boards of meat and fruit and desserts and fun cocktails or mocktails. And it's fun and it's festive and it's so visually stimulating. And a lot of our food cues, our desires of how we nourish ourselves, come from what looks visually appealing. It comes from what are others doing, what's socially acceptable, what's happening in your space, or maybe even also nostalgia, like eating for emotion or eating for that sense of community or connection or holiday spirit. I want to build that context because we're in such a more visually stimulating season. It's not that you don't have self-control or the ability to be disciplined, but it's also we're entering very tempting, delectable spaces. It's like walking into a bakery and not expecting your mouth to start to water. It's also happening this time of year that can affect our relationship to food and nourishment is that we tend to be more stressed during the holidays. There's a lot of pressure to have things perfect, to make magical memories with your families, to spend a certain amount of money, to buy the right things, to do the right things, navigating maybe family dynamics, deadlines at work, travel. Maybe sleep is off because you're committing to more parties or drinking more or eating differently. And so your system is a little out of whack. And maybe there's increase in cortisol or some stress hormones that might even throw you a little bit more off balance or make you crave even certain foods like more fatty or salty or sugary foods. And then what's also happening this season is this season can also be full of a lot of emotions, the whole spectrum of joy and excitement to loneliness and grief to overwhelm. And we can think about, get really triggered by reward eating or get really excited for comfort food. For me, I notice when I am bored or lonely or I'm not feeling as creative, like I'm kind of that creative energy feels stagnant in me, I tend to crave a lot of sugar. I crave dipping sugar, like a sugary cookie, a chocolate chip cookie, or a delicious brownie, something in my coffee to stimulate me, to help me feel like my senses are being, woken up. And I think that's a beautiful thing. But sometimes I notice I can go on autopilot where, one cookie felt fun and felt enlivening, but that second or third cookie started to tip me in the direction of, this isn't feeling good. Now I'm so passionate about the practice of mindful eating because it has changed my relationship to food and how I fuel and nourish myself. I used to feel like if I ate those 3 cookies really fast, then they didn't really count. So mindful eating, one of the many aspects that it taught me was to bring awareness to the various stages, like slowing down the eating process enough to pay attention to what is it that is on my plate? Why did I put that amount on my plate? What kind of colors is my body craving? What kind of protein is my body needing? And it helped me slow down to actually pay attention and then notice what is that food, that bite, that cookie, that piece of chicken, that sandwich feel like in my mouth? And then how does my body digest it and receive it? And to slow that process down enough to be curious with it so that I could watch how I was fueling my body and let that information then rest and help inform my next move, help me inform my next bite, help me inform what else I put on my plate, help me inform what I want to stop eating. So mindful eating is an interrupter. Mindfulness helps us interrupt these autopilot actions that can be so habitual in our life. I always say that mindful eating is a very powerful mindfulness practice because it's something we do multiple times a day. So we have multiple opportunities to practice it and be with it. And it's not about being perfect. It's about having the intention to be present with it to the best of our ability. Now, personally, I love food. It is one of my passions. I love cooking. I love eating. I love talking about food. I love going to restaurants and bakeries. I love trying other people's food. I love planning meals, weeks ahead or 2 days from now, or being at breakfast or already talking about what am I having for dinner. Food is such a huge pillar of my life. And there were definitely moments in my life where food was a form of control. When I was wanting to be healthy, going through chemo, and when I lost my mom and my life felt completely upside down and I was in my shitstorm, food became a form of control. It became a way that I could take care of myself and control some of the uncontrollables in my life. And it felt like a pseudo healthy way to have some control, was to think about how can I fuel and nourish and take care of my body. I didn't control myself from a place of like calorie counting or super restriction, but it became kind of a like fixation. Like if I can control what is going in my body, I can be as healthy as I can be, right? I can contribute to something that can help my cells and help kill the cancer in my body and help myself feel stronger and healthier and happier. I talk about this in my book, 100 Mindful Moments to Balance and Energize, because fuel, which is one of the pillars, one of the fingers of my mindful hand of self-care that I talk about in the book, when I started to have the sense of control and then I brought more mindfulness to it, it allowed me to slow down to actually pay attention to what feels good in my body. Because when I was going through chemo, my body was so sensitive. It didn't want to eat everything. It only wanted to eat specific things. It wanted to eat a lot of carbs, and it didn't want to eat this and it wanted to eat that. And it wanted a lot of vegetables and it was craving nutrients. And that's really where I actually started to like vegetables more. Like I always liked them, but I became kind of obsessed with vegetables because I recognized, wow, these are vitamins. These are minerals for my body. These are like magic gifts from the earth that can help heal my body. And so I started playing around with them and started getting more creative of how to cook with a lot of color and a lot of vegetables, and noticed that not only felt really good in my body, but it also felt really good for my mental health. I talk about this with my coaching clients a lot, that when we have the word should in our vocabulary, it feels like handcuffs. It's very restricting and it's not very enlivening. And so instead of thinking about what I should be eating, right, as somebody who has gone through cancer, as a cancer survivor, I should be eating super clean and maybe macrobiotic diet and have no white sugar and no white flour. I should have all of those things, but that isn't what I want. I, of course, don't want cancer to come back, but I want to enjoy life. I want to live and I want to love what I'm eating and I want to enjoy the pleasures of life. And so I'm not about restricting or living by shoulds. This is where mindfulness gets to help us be the guide that is this bridge that connects our mind to our body so that we can actually listen to the language of our body that's telling us what the body wants, not what the mind should be doing to then support the body. Now, what we know is that when we practice mindful eating, when we're slowly chewing, when we're slowly feeling how the food feels in our mouth and how it digests down our throat and into our stomach, and we're taking a moment to pause and putting our fork down and breathing as we're with the food and having gratitude for the food that's on our plate and feeling the nutrients in our system, what this does is that it is letting our nervous system relax. We're turning on more of our parasympathetic nervous system, which is essential when we are eating. When we're in a stressed state, our body's digestive system shuts off because it conserves energy and sends all of that energy into our limbs, into our arms and our legs to get ready to run or to get ready to fight. And so our digestive system isn't working well. And when we are in a relaxed state, our digestive system actually gets to turn on. It gets to feel safe, and it gets to enjoy and process what we're eating. When we slow down, not only is it better for our digestive system, but we're actually able to enjoy what we're eating even more because we can actually taste it. We can taste the layers, the texture, the smells, maybe listen to it, right? We can get more connected and curious with it. So more of our senses are being filled up and it is way more satisfying. And when we're practicing mindful eating, we're able to slow down enough to be connected to interoception of our body's cues, right? We're able to listen for when our body's hungry or when our body's full or it's had enough or when our body's thirsty or when something needs more salt or a little bit more lemon. We can slow down and pay attention to these cues instead of being distracted or hijacked by external cues or by autopilot actions. Now, you don't have to have a meditation practice to practice mindful eating. It's a really beautiful practice, as I mentioned earlier, because we eat multiple times a day. And it is a great opportunity to break up your day by slowing down and giving yourself the gift, even if it's just 15 minutes, to be with your meal 3 times a day. So for instance, are you somebody who grabs a bagel on your way to work and you're eating your bagel while you're walking to work or while you sit at your desk and you start answering emails, eating your bowl of cereal or oatmeal or drinking your smoothie while looking at your phone? How connected, when we're multitasking, how connected can we be to our bodies in that moment when we're fueling ourselves? It's hard. It's a really hard practice to do just one thing and to be with that one thing fully, like your scrambled eggs, like your morning cup of coffee, like your sandwich for lunch, like your full plate of dinner, whatever your meals look like. It is a challenge to just even do that. Now, let's add this holiday sparkle energy on top of that. When we are out at a holiday party, figuring out what we want to put on our plate. Do we drink? Do we not drink? Listening to music, getting caught up in conversations, not really noticing what did we put on our plate? How much did we eat? Is our body hungry? Am I thirsty? Did I eat any vegetables? Like, did I have any protein, right? It can all get very lost in the sauce. So let's talk about some practical ways of how we can bring mindful eating practices to our holiday hustle. And so one practice that can be really helpful, and I talk about this every year, is to set your intention before you enter that party, that gathering, that cookie exchange. Let this intention that you set guide your choices. So maybe I'm walking into a holiday party and I know that I can get really excited about the food that's going to be out there. And I might want to beeline it for the snack table, the hors d'oeuvres. But instead of just going there and like loading up, can I take a moment to pause and check in with my intention? And so maybe my intention before walking in was to feel deeply connected to the community. Maybe it was to feel hydrated. Maybe it was to feel balanced. Maybe it was to feel present. Maybe it's to feel light and airy. Whatever it is, whatever words you want to use that support you, connect to that intention and then let your actions support you embodying that intention. So if my intention was to feel deeply connected to the community, maybe I'm then not beelining it to the hors d'oeuvre table, but instead I'm putting my attention to connect with other people, to take the time to maybe grab a glass of water and walk around and chat with a few people before snacking. So I'm focusing on letting my heart get full instead of my mouth and my belly get full. The second micro mindful moment practice to play with, before or even as you're filling up your plate or maybe at the bar about to order a drink, pause and ask yourself, take a deep breath, ground into your body and ask yourself, do I really want this? Or do I need something else? Do I really want this? Or do I need something else? Right? Just taking that moment to check in, like, am I picking up that shrimp because it just looks good and it's like, yep, that's in front of me so I can just grab it? Or do I really want this? And if my body wants this, then fuck yeah, enjoy it. Listen to your body. Or does my body need something else? Maybe it actually needs a glass of water, or it wants some vegetables, something else that's crunchy. Maybe it wants some cucumber slices. Maybe it wants to just go have a chat with somebody else. Or maybe I'm overstimulated and I need to step outside and just take a couple of deep breaths in the fresh air and feel myself kind of reset, realign to my intention. Some other mindful eating practices. When you're at a cocktail party, holiday party, it can be really hard to, again, multitask, to be talking, to be schmoozing, to be connecting while also trying to eat and nourish and fuel your body. So a lot of the times, depending on like my hunger level, I might do the schmoozing, take a pause, grab some food, and then kind of excuse myself, like go find a seat and chill out and allow myself to just take a moment to be with me, myself, and my food. And if somebody else comes over and starts chatting, cool, like welcome that in. But I can at least just be sitting. And when I'm sitting, that sends a signal to my body that I can be in a more relaxed state, right? Activating that parasympathetic state to then allow my body to digest and rest. Another really helpful mindful eating practice here is to slowly chew. And this can be a really hard one for me. Sometimes I just want to chew so fast. Even at lunch today, my husband and I grabbed a few slices of pizza and we were having so much fun trying these different slices. And I was like halfway through and I was like, damn, I'm eating so fast. And I just had to take that moment to then notice that, not beat myself up, and allow my body to rest back in my chair, take a breather, take a couple sips of water, slow myself back down, and then go back to enjoying my pizza, right? It's the same thing if we have a fork in our hand. Sometimes we can just start attacking our plate and then it's done. But can we slow down and put the fork down, chew, right? Chew 30 times to help get that food into a mushy state so it's easier for our stomach to digest. And when we're actually chewing slowly, it helps reduce the amount of air we can swallow. And when we swallow a lot of air if we're eating too fast, that can be a big cause of bloating or indigestion or affect some acid reflux. So slowing down can be a really helpful way to minimize the amount of air that's even going into our body and make digestion even easier for our system. Another practice that can be really helpful is focusing on your plate. And what I mean by this is that when we're at a family gathering or when we're at a party, it can be really easy to look at other people's plates around you, right? That social cues that we're always scanning as human beings. It can be really easy to look at other people's plates and start to compare or judge. Oh, they have more of this, so maybe I should put more of this. Or, oh, they have a smaller portion. Did I put too much on my plate? Am I a fat ass? Like, we can create so many different stories when we start to compare ourselves, compare our plates to others. So I really welcome you during the holiday season specifically to put blinders on and allow your attention to be with you and your body, and fill your plate based on what your body wants, what your body needs, what your body's hungry for, and really start to listen and notice those cues and start to get curious, and knowing that food will always be there. I think I used to have a lot more intense food scarcity. I definitely still do, but it used to be like pretty bad. And I think that was one of the reasons during the holidays I was like, I'm never going to have this again. I need to try it all. And maybe it's also with age and my practice. There's more trust within my system. There's more ease. There's less anxiety and a need to kind of feed that anxiety, that overwhelm, my favorite overwhelm archetype that's coming up, the controller. Instead, I feel like I'm like, okay, I know what brie tastes like. Like, does my body actually want brie? It's not a matter of, oh, I'm tasting everything for the first time and it feels like an exciting world. It's kind of like, yep, I know what's here. And so I can really then tune in and ask myself, does my body want brie? It knows what prosciutto tastes like. Does my body want prosciutto? It knows what that cracker tastes like. Oh, does my body want that? And then when there are things that are new or different, I definitely sense my body perking up and being more curious. And I think that's something fun to play with. Can I try it? Can I listen to my body? Does it enjoy it? Does it not? Did just my mouth want to try it, but my stomach doesn't actually want it? So slowing down to discern all of those layers is a really beautiful way to care for ourselves. And I think we can easily get caught up in our heads about it, and we can easily get caught up in judgment or shame around it. And so I just want to say this is a practice. And so you don't have to do all of these mindful tips that I just shared, but I really welcome you to think about just one. Which one resonates for you the most? Which one feels the most approachable to try this holiday season? And maybe once you have that tip in your arsenal and you feel like it's working for you, maybe you pull out another one. You come back to this episode and you try something else and you layer in more and more. And again, it's not about being perfect. It's not about controlling our weight. It's about caring for our body. It's about enjoying the season. And it's about allowing ourselves to deeply listen and nourish our body with care instead of feeling like we're shutting her down or needing to control her or needing her to be a certain way. Let the practice of fueling and nourishing your body be about freedom, be about exploration, knowing that when we constrict, when we tighten, when we control, we're suffocating ourselves. We're taking the oxygen, the air out of our bodies, out of the room. We're killing the spirit, the magic, the pleasure of life. So instead, I really welcome you to just open it up enough where you feel like you can explore and connect to food in a way that feels good to you and your body. I would love to hear from you which mindful practice is resonating for you, what you're excited to integrate into your holiday season. share with me on Instagram, reach out, direct message me at OneWade, or you can reply in the show notes and send me an email. And if you're wanting to dive into this topic even more, with even more detail and getting to know yourself and walking through a couple of more specific mindful eating practices, I welcome you to sign up for the workshop in the show notes. And if you are somebody that's wanting even more space to explore mindful eating on an intuitive level, I welcome you to sign up for the mindfulness retreat happening this winter, this January here in Whidbey Island. We're going to all weekend long be slowing down enough, practicing silent meals, learning what the body wants to say yes to, what the body wants to say no to, learning how to mindfully chew our food. We're going to really take this work that we do every day on autopilot, and we're going to strip away all of the noise so that we can give our body its full attention and honor that it deserves. So if you're curious to learn more about the retreat and join us, I welcome you to apply, linked in the show notes, before December 10th. I am wishing you a beautiful start to the holiday season, and until next time, stay centered.